The stars looked different through the viewport of Terra's Hope as it approached the massive space station called New Centauri. Ambassador Kate Morrison stood in the ship's observation deck, watching the alien structure grow larger with each passing moment. The station was unlike anything humans had ever built, with spiraling towers that seemed to twist through space and glowing sections that pulsed with unknown energy. Colonel Jake Bennett joined her at the window, his military uniform crisp despite the long journey from Earth. "First time seeing alien architecture up close," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Makes you wonder what we're walking into." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her tablet, where she had been reviewing the diplomatic files one last time. "The Galactic Council has ruled this part of space for over 3,000 years, she said. 12 different species, all more advanced than us. We need to make a good impression." Kate nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 2 years ago, and this was humanity's first official contact with the galactic community. Everything depended on this meeting. If the Council accepted Earth's application for membership, humans would have access to alien technology, trade routes, and protection. If they refused, Earth would remain isolated in its small core of space. Docking process took an hour, with alien ships guiding Terra's Hope into a berth designed for smaller vessels. As the human delegation walked through the station's corridors, they saw their first aliens up close. Tall, crystalline beings that sparkled like living diamonds walked past without acknowledging them. Floating gas clouds in environmental suits drifted by, speaking in musical tones. Insect-like creatures with multiple arms clicked and chirped to each other in rapid conversations. The council chambers were enormous, with seats arranged in a circle around a central speaking platform. Each section was designed for different alien species, with varying atmospheres, gravity fields, and environmental controls. The human delegation was given a small viewing area that felt more like an afterthought than a place of honor. As Kate stepped onto the speaking platform, she felt hundreds of alien eyes watching her. The air was thick with tension and something else she couldn't identify. The council speaker, a crystalline being called Vex Star, whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, rose from his seat. "So," Vexstar said, his voice ringing like crystal. "Bells, these are the humans we have heard whispers about. The species that barely learned to leave their home planet." A wave of sounds rippled through the chamber. The gas beings made musical notes that sounded like laughter. The insect creatures clicked rapidly in what seemed like amusement. Other species Kate couldn't identify made noises that clearly expressed mockery. Kate straightened her shoulders and began her prepared speech. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador Kate Morrison of Earth. Humanity comes before you today, seeking membership in this great confederation of worlds. We may be young compared to your ancient civilizations, but we bring fresh perspectives, innovation, and a strong desire to contribute to galactic peace and prosperity." The laughter grew louder. A Craxi representative, looking like a giant mantis with golden armor, stood up. "Fresh perspectives?" The alien clicked. "You creatures have existed for what? A few thousand years of recorded history? My species was building cities when your world was still covered in ice. Your planet shows signs of constant warfare," added a nebulon, its gaseous form swirling in agitation. "Environmental destruction, social chaos. How can such a primitive and destructive species contribute anything to our peaceful galaxy?" Kate tried to maintain her composure as she continued. "Earth has indeed faced challenges, but we have learned from them. Our struggles have taught us adaptation, creativity, and the value of working together despite our differences. We have art, music, literature, and scientific discoveries that we would be honored to share." Vexstar's crystalline form seemed to grow brighter with amusement. "Art and music," he repeated, causing another wave of alien laughter. How charming. Do you also bring us fire-making techniques and primitive tool construction? The mockery continued, for what felt like hours. Each species took turns pointing out humanity's perceived flaws. They called humans too emotional, too chaotic, too violent, and too primitive. They spoke about Earth's short history as if it were a cosmic joke. They treated humanity's achievements like a child's finger paintings shown to master artists. When the voting began, Kate already knew the outcome. Each council member cast their vote with dramatic gestures and comments designed to emphasize their superiority. The final count was unanimous. Earth's application for membership was rejected. However, Vexstar announced with obvious condescension, the Council is not entirely without mercy. We assign Earth to Sector Null, where you may play at civilization without disturbing more advanced species. You are restricted to this small cluster of star systems until you prove yourselves worthy of greater responsibilities. Perhaps in a few centuries, if you manage not to destroy yourselves, we might reconsider. The chamber erupted in what could only be described as cosmic laughter. The sound echoed off the walls as the alien species celebrated their clever dismissal of the primitive humans. Kate felt her face burn with humiliation as she gathered her papers and prepared to leave Dot as the human delegation walked back to their ship. Jake's jaw was clenched tight with anger. "Did you see how they looked at us?" he muttered. "Like we were animals in a zoo." Lisa was already taking notes on her tablet. "Their technology is impressive, but I noticed something interesting," she said quietly. "Their ship designs haven't changed in the files I studied. Same basic configurations for hundreds of years. Maybe they're not as innovative as they think." Kate said nothing until they were safely aboard Terra's Hope and heading back toward Earth. Only then did she allow herself to feel the full weight of the humiliation. But underneath the embarrassment, something else was growing. Something that felt like determination mixed with defiance. The aliens thought humans were primitive and harmless. They had made their biggest mistake by underestimating the species they had just rejected and insulted. Earth would remember this day, and Kate suspected the Galactic Council would come to regret their laughter. 5 years had passed since the humiliation at New Centauri, and Earth looked very different now. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood in the command center of a hidden asteroid base deep in Sector Null, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's newest warship. The vessel was sleek and deadly, incorporating technology that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Dot engineer Amy Patterson joined him at the observation window, her hands still dirty from working on the ship's engines. "The Dark Star is ready for its first test run," she said with satisfaction. "We've managed to improve the alien power core efficiency by 30%. Commander Steve Phillips looked up from his tactical displays where he had been running combat simulations. "The Council still thinks we're playing with sticks and stones out here," he said with a grim smile. "They have no idea what we've been building." The transformation of human space had begun immediately after their rejection by the Council. While the aliens dismissed them as harmless primitives, humanity had been anything but idle. Project Defiance, the secret military development program, had become the most important initiative in human history. Dr. Lisa Carter, now head of Earth's Xenotechnology Division, had made the breakthrough that changed everything. While studying the Council's public technology databases, she discovered something the aliens had missed about their own equipment. Their obsession with perfection and standardization had created weaknesses that human engineering could exploit. "Zephyrians think in mathematical absolutes," Lisa explained to the gathered officers in the base's main briefing room. "Their technology is designed for perfect conditions and predictable variables. But space combat is chaos. Their systems fail when faced with unexpected scenarios. She brought up holographic displays showing alien ship designs. Look at their power distribution networks. They're beautiful, efficient, and completely inflexible. If you disrupt the primary conduit, the entire ship loses power. They never considered that someone might intentionally overload their systems. Ryan studied the diagrams with the eye of a combat veteran. What about the Craxi hive ships? Even worse, Lisa continued. They rely on collective decision-making for everything, including combat responses. Create enough confusion, and there, command structure breaks down completely. They literally cannot function when their communication networks are disrupted. Admiral Peter Davis had been overseeing the military buildup from Earth, coordinating with the hidden bases throughout Sector. No, his face appeared on the briefing room's main screen, broadcasting from his office in Geneva. The Council's last intelligence report on human activity was filed 3 years ago, he said. They concluded we were adapting adequately to our assigned limitations and haven't bothered to check on us since. The arrogance of the Galactic Council had become humanity's greatest advantage. They were so certain of their superiority that they never imagined the primitive humans could pose any threat. Their intelligence gathering in human space consisted of occasional, long-range scans and reports from automated monitoring stations that humans had learned to fool years ago. Amy had been leading the engineering teams that reverse-engineered alien technology found in derelict ships scattered throughout their assigned sectors. The Council had been dumping their old equipment in what they considered worthless space for centuries, never imagining that someone might study it and learn from it. Every piece of alien technology follows the same pattern, Amy explained to her team during one of their regular briefings. Overwhelming power, minimal flexibility. They build everything to last forever and never change. We build everything to adapt and improve. The human approach to technology was completely different from anything the Council species had ever encountered. Where aliens designed for perfection and permanence, humans designed for modification and adaptation. Human ships could be upgraded, modified, and reconfigured in ways that alien vessels could not. Steve had been developing new tactical doctrines based on humanity's unique advantages. Every alien species we've studied fights the same way their ancestors did, he told the Strategy Planning Committee. The Zephyrians use overwhelming firepower, the Craxi use swarm tactics, the Nebulans use environmental warfare. They never change, never adapt, never learn from defeats, because they haven't had any real defeats in centuries. President Lavra Hill maintained diplomatic contact with the Council while secretly authorizing the military buildup. Her public messages were humble and respectful, thanking the Council for their wisdom in assigning humanity to Sector, Null, and reporting on their peaceful development progress. Meanwhile, human colonies had spread throughout every system in their assigned territory. Mining operations extracted resources. Manufacturing facilities produced advanced equipment, and training centers prepared for the day when secrecy would no longer be necessary. The hidden asteroid bases were marvels of human engineering, hollowed out and equipped with everything needed to build and maintain a space fleet. Artificial gravity generators, atmospheric processors, and defensive systems protected each facility from discovery. Ryan commanded one of 12 such bases, each specializing in different aspects of the military program. His base focused on ship construction and combat training, while others developed new weapons, communication systems, or defensive technologies. The human fleet grew larger and more capable each month. The ships looked nothing like the massive, ornate vessels favored by Council species. Human warships were sleek, fast, and built for flexibility rather than intimidation. They could operate independently or coordinate in complex formations that alien tactical computers couldn't predict. Dr. Carter's teams had also discovered something troubling about the Council's military capabilities. Despite their technological advantages, the alien species had grown soft during their millennia of peace and dominance. Their weapons were designed for crushing primitive opponents, not fighting equals. They haven't faced a real challenge in over 800 years, she reported during a secure conference with Earth's leadership. Their military thinking is stagnant. They rely on fear and overwhelming force rather than actual tactical skill. The breaking point came when a council patrol stumbled across one of the outer human bases during what they called a routine security sweep. The alien crew expected to find primitive mining equipment and maybe some basic defensive systems. Instead, they found a fully operational military facility with advanced warships and technology that shouldn't have existed. The patrol ship's final transmission was a panicked message about impossible human capabilities before the vessel was destroyed by the base's defensive systems. However, human intelligence networks had grown sophisticated enough to intercept and redirect the transmission before it could reach Council headquarters. The aliens' own communication systems were turned against them, ensuring that news of human military development remained secret. Ryan watched the patrol ship's wreckage being processed by salvage teams and knew that their period of hidden preparation was coming to an end. The Council would eventually discover what humanity had built in the darkness of Sector Null Dot. When that day came, the galaxy would learn that the primitive species they had mocked and dismissed had become something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The humans were ready for war, and this time the laughter would stop. The discovery of the hidden base forced General Frank Cooper to accelerate everything. From his command center on Earth, he stared at the tactical displays showing Council fleet movements throughout the galaxy. The aliens were finally starting to pay attention to human space, and that attention would soon become a problem. Operation Revelation is now active, he announced to the assembled commanders via secure communication. The Council fleet Golden Spear is moving toward our territory. Under the pretense of a routine inspection, we know better. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of Liberty's Edge, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. Around him, 6 other vessels prepared for what would either be humanity's first victory or their final defeat. The odds seemed impossible. 7 human ships against 12 massive Council dreadnoughts. But Ryan had learned not to judge battles by numbers alone. The Council fleet appeared impressive as it entered human space, their ships gleaming with polished hulls and energy signatures that could be detected from several star systems away. Admiral Clienth of the Zephyrians commanded the formation from his flagship Eternal Glory, a vessel that had never been damaged in 3 centuries of service. Human vessels, came the transmission from the alien fleet. You will submit to immediate compliance scanning. Prepare to be boarded and inspected according to Council authority. Ryan looked around his bridge at the men and women who had trained for this moment. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Dan Roberts, had his fingers hovering over the weapons controls. Communications Officer Sarah Lewis was recording everything for transmission back to Earth. Engineer Tom Baker monitored the ship's hybrid systems that combined human innovation with alien technology. Admiral Clienth, Ryan responded on an open channel. This is Captain Mitchell of the Liberty's Edge. You are in human sovereign space without invitation. Please state your business. The alien's response crackled with arrogance. Sovereign space? You primitive creatures have no sovereignty. The Council grants you existence in this sector, nothing more. You will comply with inspection or face the consequences. Ryan smiled grimly. Admiral, I have a message for you and the entire Council. Proceed with your pathetic protest, human. Scan this. The battle began instantly. Human ships scattered in all directions, their smaller size and superior maneuverability allowing them to avoid the massive energy blasts from the Council dreadnoughts. The aliens had expected the humans to either flee or surrender, not fight back with coordinated precision. Liberty's Edge, dove beneath the Council formation, while 2 other human ships flanked from above. The aliens tried to track them with their main weapons, but the human vessels moved too quickly and unpredictably. Years of training in asteroid fields and variable gravity had prepared them for 3-dimensional combat that the Council had never needed to master. Lieutenant Roberts fired. The first shots, precise energy beams that struck the Eternal Glory's primary sensor array. The alien ship staggered as its targeting systems went dark, unable to lock on to the rapidly moving human vessels. Impossible. Admiral Client's voice came over the communication channel. Your weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields. What? The aliens didn't understand was that human weapons had been specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses Dr. Carter's teams had discovered. Instead of trying to overpower alien defenses, they disrupted the energy patterns that kept them stable. The human ships worked together in ways the Council had never seen. While larger vessels drew alien fire, smaller ships slipped past to attack. Vulnerable points. They shared targeting data instantly, coordinated their movements, and adapted their tactics moment by moment as the battle developed. A Croxy heavy cruiser tried to ram one of the human ships, relying on its massive bulk to crush the smaller vessel. Instead, the human ship rolled away at the last second, while firing directly into the alien vessel's engine ports. The cruiser exploded in a chain reaction that damaged 2 nearby Council ships. Dr. Rachel Webb watched the battle from the Liberties Edge Science Station, analyzing every aspect of alien combat performance. Their reaction time is terrible, she reported to Ryan. They're trying to fight this like a formal duel instead of actual combat. The truth was becoming clear as the battle continued. The Council had grown so accustomed to fighting primitive opponents that they had forgotten how to handle real resistance. Their tactics were designed for intimidation and overwhelming force against enemies who would panic and scatter. Human crews, trained in Earth's military academies and hardened by years of dangerous work in space, did not panic. They followed their training, trusted their equipment, and fought with the kind of desperate courage that comes from defending everything you hold dear. One by one, the mighty Council dreadnoughts were disabled or destroyed. The Nebulans tried to use their environmental warfare capabilities, flooding space with corrosive gases, but human ships had sealed systems and advanced filters. The Zephyrians attempted to blind human sensors with prismatic energy bursts, but human technology could adapt to changing conditions. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it ended, the entire Golden Spear fleet was either destroyed or disabled, with Admiral Client's flagship captured intact along with its crew and valuable intelligence data. Ryan stood in the ruins of the Eternal Glory's bridge, looking at the crystalline admiral who had been so arrogant just an hour before. Client's body was cracked and dim, his earlier confidence replaced by shock and disbelief. "This is not possible," the alien whispered. "Your species is primitive. Your technology is inferior. How did you defeat us?" "You underestimated us," Ryan replied simply. "You thought we were weak because we're young. You forgot that young species are still learning, still growing, still adapting. Your people stopped learning centuries ago." The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves throughout human space and beyond. The engagement had been broadcast across human communication networks, showing every detail of how 7 small ships had destroyed the Council's most powerful fleet. News of the battle spread through alien space as well, carried by independent traders and border species who had witnessed the impossible. For the first time in galactic memory, the Council had suffered a complete military defeat. Dr. Webb's analysis of the captured alien vessels revealed the full extent of Council technological stagnation. Their ships were powerful but inflexible, designed for specific scenarios and unable to adapt when those scenarios changed. They build everything to last forever, she explained in her report to Earth Command. But forever is a long time to go without improvements. Their newest ship designs are basically identical to vessels they built 500 years ago. The Council leadership initially dismissed reports of the Golden Spear's destruction as impossible rumors. No primitive species could defeat their finest fleet. The reports had to be exaggerated or fabricated, but as more evidence arrived from multiple, independent sources, the truth became undeniable. The humans they had mocked and dismissed had not only fought back, but had won decisively. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council faced a genuine threat to their authority. The species they had considered harmless had proven themselves capable of military action that the Council could not ignore. The age of easy dominance was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council chambers on New Centauri had never seen such chaos. Speaker Vextar's crystalline form pulsed with angry red light as reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. The Golden Spear incident was no longer being dismissed as rumor or exaggeration. Too many witnesses, too much evidence, too many damaged Council ships limping home with tales of impossible human capabilities. War leader Thargon of the Kraxi stood before the assembled Council, his insectoid form bristling with barely contained aggression. The humans must be crushed immediately, he clicked in rapid bursts. Every day we delay gives them time to prepare more surprises. I request authorization for a full military response. The debate that followed revealed deep divisions within the Council. Some species wanted to negotiate, others demanded complete human extermination, and a few suggested that perhaps they had underestimated Earth's potential for peaceful cooperation. 300 ships, Thargon announced when the authorization finally came. The largest battle fleet in recorded galactic history. We will show these primitive creatures what happens when they challenge their betters. Admiral Peter Davis received the intelligence reports in his command center on Earth, watching as the massive Council fleet assembled at staging points throughout the galaxy. The alien force was indeed impressive, but Peter had been preparing for this moment for years. Strategy Prometheus is now active, he announced to his staff. We're not going to fight them the way they expect. Commander Steve Phillips had designed the strategy based on humanity's greatest advantages. Instead of meeting the Council fleet in a massive battle where alien numbers would tell, human forces would split into small, fast-moving groups that could strike at Council infrastructure while avoiding direct confrontation with their main battle. Fleet Captain Susan Martinez commanded the Stealth Division, 12 ships equipped with advanced cloaking, technology that human engineers had reverse-engineered and improved from alien designs. Her mission was to strike at Council supply lines and communication networks throughout the galaxy. The aliens think in terms of big battles and overwhelming force, Steve explained during the final briefing. They're preparing to crush us in one decisive engagement. While they're looking for our main fleet, we'll be cutting their supply lines and destroying their ability to coordinate. The war began not with a massive battle, but with a series of mysterious incidents throughout Council space. Supply convoys vanished without trace. Communication relays went dark. Shipyards suffered catastrophic system failures that looked like accidents, but happened far too often to be coincidence. Susan's ships moved through Council space like ghosts, striking at targets and disappearing before anyone could respond. Her crews had trained for years in stealth operations, learning to exploit the weaknesses in alien sensor networks and communication systems. Target acquired, reported Lieutenant Mike Chun from the bridge of the Shadowhawk as they approached a major Council supply depot. 3 Zephyrian cargo vessels and minimal escort. The attack was swift and surgical. Human ships disabled the escorts, captured the cargo vessels, and disappeared back into the darkness of space. The stolen supplies included advanced manufacturing, equipment, military components, and intelligence data that revealed more Council weaknesses. Meanwhile, Commander Tony Garcia led reconnaissance forces deep into Council territory, gathering intelligence on alien military preparations and political divisions. What his teams discovered changed everything. The Council isn't as united as they pretend, Tony reported during a secure communication with Earth Command. We've intercepted communications between species that show serious internal conflicts. The Hydrons are angry about resource allocation. The synthetics are questioning Zephyrian leadership. Several species are developing weapons in secret. This intelligence opened new possibilities for human strategy. Instead of fighting the entire Council, humanity could potentially turn alien species against each other or even recruit allies from within the Council itself. Dr. Lisa Carter, now working with captured alien scientists and defectors, made another crucial discovery. The Council's command structure is completely dependent on their communication networks, she explained. Disrupt those networks, and they can't coordinate their massive fleet. Each species will fall back on their own tactical doctrines, which don't work well together. The major engagement everyone expected finally came when the Council fleet cornered what they believed was the main human force near Nexus Station, the Council's primary military headquarters. Admiral Davis had deliberately leaked the location. To draw the aliens into a trap, the Council fleet arrived expecting to crush a small human force and instead found themselves facing a coordinated assault on their most important military facility. While they focused on the space battle, human infiltration teams were already inside Nexus Station, using intelligence provided by sympathetic alien species to bypass security systems. Captain Ryan Mitchell commanded the space forces that kept the Council fleet busy while the real mission proceeded inside the station. His ships used every trick they had learned, creating confusion and chaos that prevented the aliens from effectively coordinating their response. They're trying to use overwhelming firepower again, reported his tactical officer as massive energy. Beams lit up space around them. Same strategy that failed at Golden Spear. The battle for Nexus Station became a symbol of everything wrong with Council military thinking. They had built their headquarters to be impressive and intimidating rather than defensible. The facility was designed to project power, not withstand attack from enemies, who didn't respect its authority. Human boarding parties moved through the station's corridors like they owned the place. Years of studying alien psychology and technology paid off as they exploited weaknesses the aliens never knew they had. The station's fall sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy that were even greater than the Golden Spear defeat. Nexus Station wasn't just a military facility. It was a symbol of Council authority and power. Its capture proved that humanity could not only fight the Council, but could strike at their most important targets. Inside the captured facility, human technicians found treasure troves of intelligence data, complete military databases, communication networks, and detailed information about internal Council conflicts that had been hidden from the general galactic population. The information revealed that several Council species had been plotting against each other for decades. The Zephyrians had been manipulating other species' economies. The Kragzi had been conducting illegal experiments on member worlds. The Nebulans had been hoarding critical resources, while other species suffered shortages. This changes everything, Admiral Davis said as he reviewed the captured intelligence. The Council isn't just our enemy. They're their own worst enemy. The war that had begun as a simple conflict between humans and the Council was becoming something much more complex. As news of Council corruption spread through alien space, several species began questioning their loyalty to the Confederation that had ruled them for millennia. The Hydrons were the first to break ranks, formally withdrawing from the Council and requesting human protection. Their aquatic worlds had been exploited for resources while receiving minimal benefits from Council membership. The synthetics followed, their robotic collective minds calculating that cooperation with humanity offered better prospects than continued. Subjugation under council rule. The Verdians, a plant-like species that communicated through chemical signals, also declared independence after learning that the council had been secretly harvesting their world's dot as the council fractured. Its military effectiveness collapsed. Species that had fought together for centuries suddenly found themselves unable to trust their allies. Communication networks, designed for cooperation, became sources of suspicion and paranoia. The war that was supposed to demonstrate council dominance instead revealed their fundamental weaknesses. The confederation that had ruled the galaxy through fear and overwhelming force crumbled. When faced with an enemy that refused to be intimidated, Admiral Davis prepared for the final phase of the campaign, knowing that the galaxy would never be the same. The old order was dying, and humanity would help build whatever came next. The captured data from Nexus Station revealed secrets that shocked even Dr. Lisa Carter, who had spent years studying alien behavior and politics. In her secure laboratory aboard Earth's newest research facility, she worked alongside former council scientists who had defected after learning the truth about their government. The corruption goes back centuries, explained Dr. Nix Allen, a hydron scientist whose transparent aquatic form pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of distress. The Zephyrians have been systematically weakening other species to maintain their dominance. They've manipulated trade agreements, suppressed technological development, and even caused artificial resource shortages. President Lara Hill stood in the war room beneath Geneva, surrounded by screens showing the changing political map of the galaxy. Red zones marked council loyalist territory, green showed human-allied regions, and yellow indicated contested or neutral space. The map looked like a patchwork quilt, with the old council borders fragmenting into dozens of smaller territories. Operation Sunlight is ready for implementation, reported Lieutenant Commander Bobby Lewis, head of the Information Warfare Division. We have enough evidence to expose every major council crime of the past 200 years. Broadcasting this across alien space will finish what we started at Nexus Station. The information war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human communication networks, now enhanced with captured alien technology, broadcast the truth to every inhabited world in council space. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Citizens of council worlds learned that their governments had been lying to them for generations. The Croxy hive minds discovered that their leaders had been conducting illegal genetic experiments on other species, including their own lower castes. The Nebulans found out that their environmental restoration programs were actually resource extraction operations that devastated primitive worlds. The revelations triggered the largest political crisis in galactic history. On dozens of worlds, local governments collapsed as populations demanded answers. Some species split into factions supporting different responses to the crisis. Others experienced complete social breakdown as trust in their institutions evaporated. Admiral Peter Davis watched the chaos from his flagship Terra's Victory, humanity's most advanced command vessel. The ship incorporated technology from 7 different alien species, all improved by human engineering and innovation. Around him, the combined human fleet prepared for what they hoped would be the final campaign of the war. The Council is finished as a political entity, reported his intelligence officer, Commander Janet Roberts. Only 4 species remained fully loyal: the Zephyrians, hardcore Craxy units, the Zerons, and the Plutonians. Everyone else has either joined us, declared neutrality, or is too busy with internal problems to fight. The human fleet now included ships from their new alien allies. Hydron vessels moved through space like living organisms, their biomechanical technology complementing human engineering in unexpected ways. Synthetic ships were mathematical marvels of efficiency and precision. Verdian vessels grew their own armor and weapons from specialized plant matter that was stronger than most metals. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of Liberty's Edge, now serving as a flagship for the joint human-alien fleet. His crew included officers from 5 different species, all working together with an efficiency that the old council had never achieved. "This is what cooperation actually looks like," he said to his mixed crew as they prepared for the assault on the council's homeworld system. Not domination disguised as unity. The final campaign began with systematic attacks on the remaining council strongholds. Human strategy had evolved during the war, incorporating tactical knowledge from their alien allies, while maintaining the flexibility and innovation that gave them their initial advantages. Captain Susan Martinez led a combined force of human and synthetic stealth ships in attacks on council communication networks. Her teams had become experts at infiltration and sabotage, able to disable entire star system's defenses without firing a shot. The old council communication systems were designed for control, not security, she explained to her multinational crew. They never imagined that someone might turn their own networks against them. Meanwhile, Commander Tony Garcia worked with Hydran intelligence specialists to coordinate with resistance movements on council worlds. The aquatic aliens had natural talents for communication and coordination that complemented human strategic thinking. The breakthrough came when the Zerons, one of the last council loyalist species, sent a secret delegation to negotiate surrender. Their insectoid representatives met with human diplomats on a neutral world, bringing with them intelligence about the remaining council defenses. "We have studied your species carefully," clicked the lead Zeron diplomat. "You offer something the council never did: genuine partnership instead of disguised slavery. We wish to discuss terms for changing sides." The defection of the Zerons triggered a cascade of similar negotiations. Species that had remained loyal out of fear rather than conviction began reaching out to the human alliance. The council's authority collapsed like a house of cards as each defection encouraged others to follow. The climactic battle occurred at the Zephyrian homeworld, where the crystalline species made their final stand alongside the remaining Croxy loyalists. The battle was fierce but brief, as the combined human-alien fleet overwhelmed defenses that had been designed to fight primitive enemies, not a coordinated alliance of equals. Admiral Davis stood in the ruins of the Council's final command center, looking at the captured leaders who had once mocked humanity as primitive and worthless. Speaker Vextar's crystalline form was cracked and dim, his arrogance replaced by disbelief and defeat. "This is impossible," the alien leader whispered. "We are the advanced species. We have ruled the galaxy for millennia. How could primitive creatures like you destroy everything we built?" "You destroyed yourselves," Davis replied. "We just helped. Your corruption, your arrogance, your inability to adapt or change. You created the conditions for your own downfall." The war officially ended when the remaining council leadership broadcast a surrender message from their homeworld. The transmission went out to every inhabited system in the galaxy, carried by the same communication networks that had once spread council propaganda. Speaker Vextar appeared on screens throughout galactic space, his once proud form now broken and humbled. "The Galactic Council formally requests an end to hostilities with the Human Alliance," he said, each word seeming to cause him physical pain. "We acknowledge that our previous assessment of human capabilities was incorrect." The broadcast marked the end of an era that had lasted for over 3,000 years. The council that had ruled through fear and overwhelming force was finished, replaced by something entirely new. President Hill prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. The galaxy needed new leadership, new institutions, and new principles for governing the relationships between species. The humans who had once been rejected and mocked would now help build the future of galactic civilization. The species that had thought themselves superior were about to learn what true leadership actually meant. 6 months after the Council's surrender, New Centauri Station looked completely different. The imposing symbols of alien dominance had been replaced with displays representing dozens of species working together as equals. Ambassador Kate Morrison walked through corridors that had once echoed with mocking laughter at humanity's expense, now filled with the sounds of genuine cooperation and mutual respect that the peace negotiations were being held in the same chambers where the Council had once rejected Earth's application for membership. The irony was not lost on anyone present, least of all Kate, who remembered every detail of that humiliating day. Years before, Speaker Vextar sat in what had once been his position of authority, but his crystalline form was dim and fractured. Around him, the remaining Council leadership waited like supplicants rather than rulers. The Craxi representatives clicked nervously, their compound eyes darting between the human negotiators and their own allies. The few Nebulon delegates swirled in patterns that their species used to express anxiety and uncertainty. The former Council formally requests consideration for membership in the new Galactic Federation, Vextar said, his voice lacking any trace of its former arrogance. We acknowledge our past mistakes and wish to contribute to the peaceful development of galactic civilization. Kate looked across the negotiating table at the beings who had once dismissed humanity as primitive and worthless. The transformation was complete. The species that had ruled through fear and domination were now begging for acceptance from the very creatures they had mocked. Admiral Ryan Mitchell commanded the peacekeeping forces that maintained order throughout former Council space. His fleet now included ships from over 20 different species, all working together under human leadership principles. The diversity was remarkable, with vessels that looked like living organisms flying alongside mathematical geometric shapes and traditional metal hulls. The integration is proceeding better than we expected, Ryan reported during a secure communication with Earth. Former Council species are adapting to cooperative tactics surprisingly well. It turns out they were just as tired of the old system as everyone else. Dr. Lisa Carter had established technology sharing programs that would have been impossible under the old Council system. In her research facilities throughout human space, teams of mixed-species scientists worked on projects that combined the best aspects of different alien technologies with human innovation. The Zephyrian mathematical models are incredibly sophisticated, she explained to a group of visiting diplomats. But they never thought to combine them with Hydran biological computing or synthetic adaptive algorithms. The results we're achieving now surpass anything any single species could have developed alone. The former Council species weren't just accepting human leadership, they were embracing it. After centuries of stagnation under the old system, they were eager to participate in the rapid innovation and development that characterized human civilization. President Lavra Hill arrived at New Centauri for the final negotiations, accompanied by representatives from humanity's alien allies. The delegation included Hydran bioscientists, synthetic logic specialists, Verdian environmental experts, and former Council species who had switched sides during the war. The contrast with humanity's first diplomatic mission could not have been greater. Where once Kate had stood alone before hostile aliens, now she was surrounded by allies and partners who respected human leadership and values. The new Federation will operate on principles of equality and merit, Kate announced to the assembled delegates. Every species will have representation based on their contributions to galactic civilization, not their military power or historical dominance. The negotiations revealed just how completely the situation had reversed. Former Council species competed to demonstrate their value to the new Federation, offering technology, resources, and knowledge in exchange for membership. They proposed joint research projects, cultural exchanges, and cooperative development. Programs. Speaker Vextar made what amounted to a formal apology on behalf of the entire former Council. "We failed to recognize the potential of your species," he admitted, his crystalline form flickering with what might have been shame. "Our arrogance blinded us to the value of cooperation over domination. We request the opportunity to learn from our mistakes." The Craxi representatives went further, offering to share their advanced biotechnology and manufacturing capabilities with any Federation members who needed them. The species that had once conducted illegal experiments now wanted to use their knowledge to benefit all galactic citizens, even the Nebulans, who had been among the most dismissive of humanity during the original contact, offered their environmental restoration expertise to help repair damage caused by centuries of Council exploitation. Dr. Rachel Webb, now serving as Earth's chief science advisor, studied the proposals with amazement. "They're offering us access to technology and knowledge that the old Council kept secret for centuries," she reported. "The level of cooperation they're proposing would have been impossible under their old system." The final agreement established the Galactic Federation of Worlds, with Earth serving as the administrative center and humanity providing the leadership principles that would guide galactic civilization into the future. The new government was based on cooperation, innovation, and equality rather than dominance and fear. Former Council species were accepted as members, but they had to earn their positions through contribution and cooperation rather than claiming them by right of conquest or historical precedent. The Zephyrians became valuable partners in mathematical research and precision manufacturing. The Craxi contributed their biological expertise to medical and agricultural development. The Nebulans helped restore damaged environments throughout the galaxy. Kate stood in the same speaking chamber where she had once been humiliated and dismissed, but now she was addressing the representatives of over 50 species who looked to humanity for leadership and guidance. The transformation was complete. The Federation we build today will be based on the principle that every species has something valuable to contribute, she said to the assembled delegates. "We will measure success not by conquest or domination, but by how well we work together to solve the challenges facing all galactic citizens." The response was enthusiastic applause from species that had once been enemies, allies, and neutral observers. The galaxy had learned that cooperation achieved what domination never could. Admiral Mitchell watched the proceedings from the security center, monitoring the peaceful transition that was taking place throughout former Council space. Conflicts that had simmered for centuries were being resolved through negotiation and compromise. Technologies that had been hoarded by dominant species were being shared for the benefit of all. The species that had once mocked humanity for being too emotional and chaotic now recognized those qualities as strengths that enabled cooperation and innovation. The humans who had been dismissed as primitive had taught the galaxy that true advancement came not from technological superiority, but from the ability to work together despite differences. As the negotiations concluded and the new Federation was officially established, Kate reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The Council that had rejected humanity's application for membership was gone, replaced by an organization built on human values and principles. Aliens who had once laughed at human achievements now studied human methods of cooperation and adaptation. The species that had thought themselves superior had learned that true strength came from lifting others up rather than holding them down. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and domination was now guided by hope and cooperation, led by the same species that had once been considered too primitive to matter. The laughter had indeed stopped, replaced by something far better: genuine respect and partnership among equals working together for a better future.